So first up, we're going to be watching Casual Geographic's Honey Badger vs. Wolverine, deciding the impossible fight. Now, there was a lot of video recommendations I had for this one, and then I saw Honey Badger vs. Wolverine and figured, no, we're doing this. So we're going to do this. You guys know the deal. It's Casual Geographic. I already know I had not subscribed to him. That is a mistake. Don't be like me. Make sure you're already subscribed to this guy. Let's get started.
An Oreo-flavored bowl cut wearing assault on the food web.
I'm sorry, what the... Why? Why would you do this? Okay, we're not even 2 seconds in, and I'm already having a "oh god, why is humanity stupid" moment.
Web, a scavenging super soldier steroid weasel. Two animals infamous for durability blessed by the almighty, disregard of death as a concept, and being a part-time predatory hemorrhoid. An unstoppable force versus an immovable object. A fight.
It attacked a porcupine. And it's just saying, I don't give no fucks to that. Like, that'll white off most things.
As much philosophical as physical, and today we'll break down how these
Honey Badger, strength 85, agility 75, range meter 101. Wolverine, strength 92, agility 70, rage meter 95. Oh, he's the more restrained version.
Let's match up until in the end, only one is left standing. Now, disclaimer, I've actually done this video before, but after some additional research and some number crunching, my answers changed quite a bit, and after-
because I've been told he has updated videos as he gets more information. For example, the one I did last week was cats. Yeah, apparently that was really edited. Honestly, I kind of want to see what the edits are later, but I didn't realize this is what he's changing.
I actually feel pretty good about my pick.
Sure about that?
Another note I wanted to add is there are no definites in nature. What I mean is, if I say animal A would beat animal B in a fight, I don't mean animal A would run the table every time. It's more like if A and B squared up 10 times, I'd expect animal A to hypothetically win at least 6.
Yes. Is that a coyote versus a cat? See, here's the thing. I used to live in a place that had a large feral cat population who were so incredibly used to people, they ignored us. And then, because of said large cat population, a large pack of coyotes moved in as well. Never saw them, but you could definitely hear them at night because they would catch something every night across the street from me, and then they would howl and yip and make little whining gurgle noises that were kind of weird, and I don't want to think about too much. So yeah, I saw a lot of cats fighting back. You saw a few with scars. Thing is, if they have a scar, it means they survived, and yeah.
6. Any debate worth having wouldn't just be one contender steamrolling the other.
Which is why this should never have been a question. Who actually wins this one? I'm assuming Grizzly Bear has teeth, but I don't know.
Being said, let's meet the misfits. The Honey Badger's black Air Force energy emanating from an aggressive tube sock. At only about 20 to 30 pounds.
What is that? Is that? Oh, it's eating something. Oh. Species. Mellivora canespesis. Honey Badger. Oh, it's in Africa and Southwest Asia. And Indian subcontinent. For some reason, I thought it was in America.
And a length of 22 to 30 inches, the glorified ferret is too small, too slow, and too solitary for a conventional way of life. In a world of fight or flight, the honeyhead's defining trait is not having wings, and monochrome crashouts are actually their best defense. But it's not just a bluff. The bane of bees has 1.5-inch claws, mostly for digging and breaking into hives, and jaws powerful enough to crack open a tortoise.
A tortoise? Those are very impressive shells, and a honey badger just goes to town on. Oh, wow, that is a lot stronger than I thought. Also, Billy mentioned honey badgers can purr, and the purring sounds more demonic than their growling. And Phoenix said the gorilla is the wizard or the winner, but Valerian said grizzly stomps. Oh. Honestly, maybe we need to see that.
Apparently use those jaws to castrate larger animals to bleed them to death. But if we want to be fair,
what?
They apparently use those jaws to castrate larger animals to bleed them to death.
Okay. That's the thing. I don't want to know this. I have a new reason to be fear. It's not just dying. It's that's how they do it. Okay. And Pilot 1, thank you. He did a video on before that. The grizzly is way bigger, faster, and stronger than the gorilla. Grizzly stomps like crazy. Oh, really? Oh.
But if we want to be fair here, we do have to mention that the castration claim came from Kruger Park Ranger James Stevenson Hamilton in 1947 and hasn't been documented since. Either way,
I'm actually feeling a little better about the lack of documentation because that makes it less likely, and maybe it was just a freak accident.
the real flex is that if cockroaches had breasts, they'd probably be honey badgers. They're that hard to kill. They famously have thick 6mm skin that can tank quills, bites, bee stings, machetes.
That's how thick their skin is? To give you an idea, between 7 to 9mm is the kind of gloves I use to use toxic chemicals in person. And their skin is almost at that level. Oh, wow.
And most importantly, severe maulings from much larger predators.
He survived
also
that.
Has freakishly loose skin that makes it nearly impossible to pin down.
Oh yeah, because they keep sliding out and just getting
cuts
cuts.
To the face. Additionally, they have a reversible anal pouch with a smell foul enough to gift angry bees the power of discernment. They have a reversible anal pouch with a smell foul enough to gift angry bees the power of discernment.
So they hunt bees by stinking them. Okay.
I don't think it would affect a rampaging Wolverine. All in all, the honey badger punches way above its weight, and it needs to have a chance. The Wolverine is a travel-sized bear on bath salts and a different kind of cockroach, living on the very fringes of existence where most others could not. Wolverines weigh about 30 to 45 pounds and measure up at 28 to 42 inches, and they also have the honey badger problem of not having the bulk of a bear, the parkour prowess of a puma, or the power of friendship like wolves. They do have jaws strong enough to crush bone and chew through frozen flesh, and 4-inch semi-retractable claws, mostly for climbing, but also for running non-retractable fades. Like the honey badger, they have thick loose skin, but also a coat to insulate them from the elements.
Oh, so
they're also the IRS for animals way above their weight class, as they're on record shifting cougars, wolves, and in some rare cases, even bears from meals. And again,
like, are we talking a black bear? Because I've seen those be warned off by a chihuahua. If we're talking a brown bear, or probably not polar, but a brown bear, that's a lot more impressive.
And like the honey badger, they also weaponize their anal glands, enough to have the nickname skunk bear. Not something that should matter against a badger, but the fight would be an odious assault.
Okay, so here's the thing. I've actually heard of skunk bears before. I had no idea that was a reference to a Wolverine. Huh. And now I'm even more terrified, but still less than the animal that explicitly, at least one documented case of, decided that the best way to kill prey was castration.
On and of every sense. The Wolverine's bigger frame means it has confirmed kills against animals up to 20 times its size, and there's even one case of a Wolverine allegedly putting a polar bear in past tense by...
It's only one case, but okay, never mind. I thought it was grizzlies. And no, it's polar, which is somehow scarier.
Latching its jaws around the bear's windpipe. But just like with the honey badger, there isn't really evidence of a rageaholic gym sock suffocating a polar bear with more than just smell, but then again, people won't let facts get in the way of a good story.
On the other hand, the smell, I have no idea what this image is, and I already hate it.
That's how some animals end up sounding way worse than they actually are, and how other animals don't get taken nearly seriously enough. Like the most dangerous animal.
Why would you do that? Like, he just has a bag of food in front of a freak. Was that a grizzly?
Worse than they actually are, and how other animals don't.
Yes, that was a grizzly, and he has a bag of what looks like, I don't even know what ship that. Like, why are you dumb? You throw it to the animal and then you don't look back. Or actually, better, you keep looking back and walk away. Oh god, this is literally a pile of why moments. Also, Luna 2 Moon. What's up? Could you react to the Alien Stage? It's a music series set in a dystopian future where aliens have colonized Earth and treat humans as pets. Honestly, when it comes to music videos, I'm always hesitant because of how YouTube works with them. Also because I have no ear for music in general. I'm surprised I got into the musical or the Odyssey, Epic the musical, because normally I just don't have any clue how they act. Also, people are saying to look up dolphins. That was a dolphin? Oh, God.
don't get taken nearly seriously enough. Like the most dangerous animal in Yellowstone isn't a Wolverine,
It's
a
a
wolf,
human?
or even a bear. And a quick look at these articles and you'll see that a flood
Yellowstone warns tourists of another man gored by a bison. Really, a bison? I thought it'd be a moose. Yeah. Also, I still think the most dangerous thing in Yellowstone is probably just people, but also I'd say that regardless.
bearded tank puts way more humans in hospital beds. But actually reading the articles will tell you that it's the people
No.
causing problems, and the bison are guilty of only protecting
No.
their personal space. That's why it's important you have both sides of the story before you start judging. And that's why I'm working with
God, I don't... Every freaking image he pulls up is somehow even more just nerve-wracking.
Ground News. Ground News is an app and website developed by a former NASA engineer who saw news outlets basically bias planting to boost engagement. And like I always say, if you think you're impervious to bias, then you're exactly who would be affected by it. But you can take the power back,
one of the
because
sources I
Ground
want to
News
get into.
counters that by putting all the world's headlines from across the political spectrum in one place so you can actually be fully informed. Bison bias aside, here you can see the attack was covered by over 120 sources,
Really?
with 72% being relatively center and 21 and 6% left and right leaning respectively. Basically a blind spot for the right. But both sides seem to agree if a mobile boulder turns you into a flapjack, you probably had it coming. What they don't agree on are what to make of the recent LA protests. And with Ground News, you can see that out of an overwhelming 750 plus sources, over 140 leaned left to the 100 plus rolling right.
Most in the center,
With the
though.
comparison feature, you can see that the left criticized the escalation in Marine deployments and police involvement, while those leaning right are highlighting the volatility of the situation and the hopes that the deployments can quell it. With 85% of sources rated as highly factual, you can trust that what you're reading is accurate. Also, with the blind spot feature, you can read up on stories one side may have completely missed to really paint the full picture. If you're as chronically online as I am, you need Ground News at your disposal, and if you use my link, I got you 40% off the same $5 a month Vantage plan I'm using. Make sure you go to groundnews.com/casualgeo, click the link below, or scan the QR code on screen to subscribe to what the Nobel Peace Center called an excellent way to stay informed. But to see who would get unsubscribed from life first, it's imperative to see how
This looks like a pay-per-view because it says pay-per-view at the bottom. And all I can wonder is this a real thing that he just made or a real thing that someone else made because they actually got a honey badger and a wolverine? They actually recorded them fighting. I want to say, no, it's obviously something he mocked up because this looks like AI over here. But I'm disappointed in humanity enough that I might believe it's real.
they move in the world they live in. Because laying out all the tools they have to work with isn't as important as how they use them in the first place. Starting with the sand-seasoned rage-baiting ratel. Honey badgers have the second widest prey range of any mustelid.
Really?
And most of what they find is by using their claws to dig them up. A study done in the Kalahari Transfrontier Park found that most of what they eat are small mammals like mice and gerbils, and small reptiles like geckos and skinks. The honey badgers are also high metabolic maniacs that'll try highly venomous snakes such as puff adders and black mambas, and they'll steal larvae straight from the heart of homicidal beehives. They're so masochist coded that many believe that they're immune to venom when they're only resistant. There are cases of honey badgers being excused from the mortal roll call while eating honey because they got stung to death in the process, and getting flatlined by snakes.
So they wanted the honey so much that they kept eating it as they were dying. Damn.
Because they kept getting bit but refused to quit. Honey badgers seem to have a severe lack of self-preservation, but it makes sense when you live in a world where running away is physically not an option. But it also means they're crazy enough to try to meal tax a leopard right in front of it. And that's because the honey badger is a forager on steroids that doesn't pass up opportunities to eat because they virtually can't afford to. Most predators...
Was that a video of the freaking honey badger stealing the leopard's kill which they pulled into the tree? Yeah. Freaking opportunists, man.
Rest and chill after a big kill, but honey badger will stop only for as long as it takes to consume it before running off to find another. This mentality also helps his furry fitted sheet not fold in the face of predators, and constantly fighting back even inches from death means even if it can be killed, it often ends up being more effort than it's worth. In a desolate landscape like the Kalahari, an overachieving weasel scrounges a living in the area code of some of the most impressive and oppressive forces of predatory nature.
So basically it survives on the, yeah, you'll win, but I'm gonna fuck you up. I'm gonna fuck you up so hard you wish I hadn't fucked you up so hard. Respectable.
Wolverines are survivalists on steroids that live in some of the most unlivable places on Earth. While bears hibernate through the dead of winter, the skunk bear is still outside in avalanche country. Those claws work as crampons to let the Hulk weasel cling to the side of a cliff, and having large paws means they can run across the same deep snow other animals would sink in.
So basically they have built-in snowshoes. And with the hooks on their hand, they said crampons. So like the claws you put on your feet when you're mountain climbing on something that's not sheer, but you can still walk on, but it's too slippery and slick that you don't want to risk having a flat-footed shoe as well. Oh, that's actually kind of insane, man.
Those jaws are specifically designed to tear through flesh that's frozen solid, and a wolvie will eat every part of a carcass, right down to the teeth. They even have a molar that's been rotated 90 degrees for the main purpose of cutting through ice-solid meat. Also, they are the second most disrespectful creature to inclines, with number 1 going to goats.
Yeah.
Wolverines will use mountains like we use crosswalks. It's actually why they're so impossible to keep track of. A motivated Wolverine will easily trek through 40 miles of rough, virtually inaccessible terrain in a day, and in Glacier National, there was one case of a Wolverine scaling a 5,000-foot peak in an hour and a half.
5,000 feet in an hour and a half. That's actually impressive on 2 completely different ways to me. One, just the sheer speed of it, but also 5,000 feet is a huge pressure change. So not only are they really durable, they can handle extreme changes in just their environment really well. That is noticeable. Oh, wow.
That stubbornness applies to their diet, since Wolverines often have to scavenge under the noses of apex predators. But Wolverines can kill too, and in a study, 84% of the observed Wolverines' diets included reindeer, and 28% of those were actually wiped out by Wolverines. There might not be a worse predator to have than a Wolverine, and it's because of how they hunt. Wolverines are the pioneers of one-person persistence hunting, and in one study, a Wolverine chased a caribou for a total of just under 40 miles in a hunt exceeding 6 hours.
So in other words, they hunt the same way humans evolved to hunt. Like our initial hunting pattern was we'll sweat so we can go longer and just enduranced every animal into exhaustion, and then they died. So yeah, they're basically doing what we did. Huh.
The animal with glutton for a Latin name will tailgate a mark until they eventually
Wait. Their name is Latin for glutton? Okay. That's awesome. Also, hey, Zero to Nova, what's up, man? We're just on the first video, actually, so not much.
Pass out. So whether it's a determined garbage disposal or a flagrantly reckless felony ferret, beating either would be a war of attrition.
I'm thinking the Wolverine probably has this one.
Can he fight though? Both these animals rely on intimidation and offensive defense, but how do they fare when that bluff gets called? With honey badgers, those claws probably wouldn't feel good across the face, but the real damage is in that bite. A honey badger's jaws are strong enough to pull the meat out of a carcass after other predators are done with it. They're actually built for conflict because the badger's skull has a transverse mandibular condyle that locks into the jaw socket, creating a tight fit that secures the jaw and makes it incredibly difficult to dislodge or dislocate. That's
so when it bites
how
down,
a
it
honey badger
stays
maintains
down.
its dental grip on either prey or predators, no matter how hard they buck. The jaw strength is how honey badgers are documented murking goats and sheep, usually by tearing holes in their underside and disemboweling them. The honey badger will also use its nasty bite to factory reset snakes by immobilizing them with a bite to the back of the head. By essentially shanking ops with their teeth and using claws for leverage, the honey badger has scored some impressive wins against raptors like Marshall and tawny eagles, and even the African porcupine, the same one that's a lion's last resort. When honey badgers fight each other, injuries show that they go for the face, neck, and underbelly because they know that everything else is a waste of time. The honey badger is an absolute...
That's actually very interesting because it means there is a little awareness of what their own weakness is to attacking others. But I guess if you know what hurts, you know what hurts. Huh.
Stonewall, but its size means it's realistically not killing prey bigger than a sheep. Not like the Wolverine. The Wolverine is a walking vice grip capable of crippling
What is
prey.
that?
They have the same tight seal jaw mechanism that
that's
all
a goat.
muscelids do, and they use it by climbing on top of prey and eviscerating the neck and shoulder area. One of their favorite strats is running up on prey trapped in deep snow and essentially turning their last moments into a rodeo. Wolverine
He literally jumped on the neck and rode it. Yeah, he mentioned herding reindeer, and now they're hunting reindeer.
Wolverines have used this to single-handedly take down Dall's sheep, reindeer, mountain goats, elk, and even the biggest mark in the area. From 1967 to 2001 in Krasnoyarsk, Russia, there were 19 cases of Wolverines flatlining moose, and based on the bodies, they favored tearing at the legs, neck, and shoulder.
So the thing you need to be worried about, more than bears sometimes, is hunted by wolverines. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm putting my money on the wolverine for this one.
Now, to be fair, the wolverines usually went after the young, the sick, or as mentioned, those swallowed by snowdrifts, but it's still a feral ferret the size of a mid-dog, taking the life of an animal 20 times its size. Against each other, they use their hook claws to grapple and try to land their trapped jaws around the face and throat. The wolverine has a higher power rating than a honey badger, but the honey badger has that dog in him. Even in a dying effort, honey badgers have been known to throw hands at a lion for hours. But there's a
So they're both very persistent, and while it looks like the wolverine has a pretty good edge, I guess it comes down to the wolverine might win, but it'll definitely hurt more by the end.
Another aspect we gotta look at, and this might actually be what decides it. How they match up with predators is a big factor, since in this fight they're going up against another predator. And there's no shortage of threats to a honey badger's well-being. Lions, hyenas, leopards, wild dogs, crocodiles, baboons, and pythons are all liable to catch an African aggro skunk slipping. As much as their reputation precedes them, honey badger got quite a lot to give a shit about. Even though they can live for nearly 30 years in captivity, in the wild most won't make it past 7. Honey badgers aren't the indestructible black and white badger berserkers the internet says they are. They're actually very vulnerable to predators. And it seems that the honey badger's 2 biggest threats are leopards and hyenas. As funny as it is, mature lions typically avoid them, since beefing with a malice-operated weasel when you hunt buffalo for a living is a genuine waste of time. But
because they have bigger, easier scores, and this is less meat, more energy used. Yeah, that makes sense.
Leopards and hyenas are more curious, and since a foot-tall badger can't outrun a hyena gang or sidestep a leopard, they literally have no other option than to fight to buy itself extra time on Earth. But ultimately, honey badgers have no shot at crippling any predator bigger than a jackal,
Coyote?
And it becomes a losing matchup when a predator decides it does have time. It's just that the honey badger's crackhead determination means it can survive situations they have no business walking away.
Did he just get gored and
walk? Face the sheer volume, but they still have a familiar feline build, one of the greatest pack hunters of all time, and one of the largest land predators on Earth to deal with. Like the honey badger, the wolverine's durability has been blown up as time's gone on. They're actually really vulnerable against wolves. They'll square up and fight the good fight, but they're as brave as they need to be until there's a tree. In a study on the mortality of wolverines in Sweden, over 40% died to a predator, likely a wolf or another reen. Of course, we're still talking about a freaking wolverine, and
although wolves are kind of cheating because they're explicitly pack hunters, the entire bullshit about lone wolves is, what people forget is, or actually most don't even know, a lone wolf is not the strongest one. It's the one that's been kicked out to die. A lone wolf is a death sentence because you starve when they're pack hunters. So yeah, it's not a fair fight then. Granted, this is nature. Fair fights don't exist, as in the entire honey badger going for the crotch and castrating to kill animals part. Yeah, I'm not going to forget that. No matter how hard I'm going to try later, I'm not going to forget.
You gotta take a giga ferret capable of offing elk, lynxes, and on the right day, a moose. Seriously, wolverines are a legitimate risk to predators that can't afford to tank injuries.
Is that a freaking brown bear? That's a freaking brown bear.
Resources that may not have been worth it. Wolverines are one of the rarest mammals in America, and because they typically live in the inhospitable, we don't really know how these encounters typically go. But we know one thing for sure: wolves, cougars, black bears, and brown bears can and have killed wolverines. And no wolverine has been recorded murking one of them, unless you believe the polar bear story. So now we have everything to decide who would win, but now we have to decide what winning is. Obviously, there's no question who wins in a fight to the death, but is it still a W if you can force a forfeit first? In nature, a fight to the death is rare because the injury sustained would likely life deprive both sides anyway. As much as the drama of a drawn-out cinematic duel to the death would sell, getting one side to turn tail is just as valuable a win. So here, a win would mean either straight up destroying the other or successfully intimidating them. Now let's finally set the scene for the fight. It's the middle of an unbearably long.
Oh, so just based on this part alone?
Successfully intimidating them.
Yeah. If it's about intimidation, honey badger don't give a shit. It gives a lot of shits, but it doesn't act like it does. So it might actually go to the honey badger then.
Now let's finally set the scene for the fight. It's the middle of an unbearably long dry season when a wolverine and a honey badger run into each other at a fresh deer kill. Neither's eaten in days, and both may not eat for several more, and with these being 2 prime males, this fade might be fatal. Let's review what we got. The honey badger is arguably more durable, surviving maulings that would likely kill the wolverine. Plus, a honey badger is liable to fight to the absolute death. But even in a fight going the distance, the biggest question remains: how does the honey badger basically beat a bigger version of itself? The Wolverine can survive one of the worst conditions of any predator, and the same jaws that can cripple a moose and allegedly a polar bear should be enough to crush the honey badger's skull. But the honey badger takes a lot to kill and will be squirming and giving it right back the whole time. For the Wolverine, the question is, if bigger predators struggle with it, how does the Wolverine expect to be any different? It's not easy, but the winner is the Wolverine. The honey badger's lipo-looking loose skin and attitude would make this a prolonged fight, but the
Because maybe they're different enough that I wouldn't use the same tactic. Yeah, that might happen.
Wolverine's jaws are capable of inflicting enough crush damage on the badger, especially if it lands a blow to the head, which they normally go for. In a fight going the distance, the Wolverine would get beaten up, but the honey badger likely wouldn't be able to get a kill on the Wolverine. But the real winner here is the Wolverine's lack of risk aversion. Even though the honey badger's more kamikaze coded, Wolverines have been known to die trying to steal a kill in front of a bear. So the chances the Wolverine backs off are lower than the Wolverine.
So in other words, they got that backwards. It's not that the honey badger don't give shit. It's that the Wolverine literally, canonically, genetically does not have shits to give.
Wolverine offing the badger, or even the honey badger running first. Against a similar sized African civet, the nasty honey badger is able to pin it, but ultimately the civet's able to walk away.
They're fighting in the middle of a road with active traffic. Damn, nature, you scary.
I can't see a honey badger submitting a much bigger Wolverine, but like I said, there are no definites in nature, and in a best of 10, I'd expect a Wolverine to force a submit or a retreat at least 6 times. It was close, but in a matchup like this, only one can take the W, so it's only fitting that the Wolverine
fighting
already
on
has
ice.
it. But that's gonna do it for this video. Drink water, hug your mother, touch grass, call your father. Let me know what other
I touched grass recently. I hated it.
matchups you want to hear me talk about, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one.
We'll dodge it. Thanks for watching. Paradox XZX. Why is this guy playing with a honey badger on a leash, putting his hands in the mouth? Why? Oh, God. I mean, the last one is that Steve-O? Yeah, never mind. That makes perfect sense. The fact this man is still alive, to the best of my knowledge, is literally the thing that makes them no sense in anything at all. No matter what. Ever. Constantly. Okay. Ooh. Also, Luna to Moon. You mentioned I should check out Guild Guy Automatica? Or Automatica? An AU concept. Ooh, that sounds fun. I might, if today we win, maybe. It's going to be on the list, probably. This, though, apparently we have it wrong. It's not that honey badger don't give a shit. It's that Wolverine don't give a shit. And that's not actually a meme. That's apparently a biological imperative. To literally die getting what they want, because fuck all y'all. Granted, honey badger died eating honey, but they already had their shit at that point. Oh, dear God, man. I don't even understand how these animals are real sometimes, because they feel like they're insane, and like someone was just rushing to make the craziest thing. I'm thinking about a video by PM Seymour now, aren't I? The God Does Things videos from Reddit. Yeah. The more casual Geographic I watch, the more PM Seymour's videos about Reddit seem like they're not jokes. When Reddit seems serious, you know weird things have happened. Oh, God. So for everyone watching, this is awesome. Don't be like me. Make sure to subscribe. Leave a like to this guy's channel. He's awesome. There'll be a link below when the video goes live. Hit him up. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to never think about how the honey badger killed some larger prey ever.